I want to welcome you to Let's Talk Relationships Coast to Coast. And I'm relationship coach Chuck Starnes, and I'm here on this Facebook Live with Elissa Glickman, who is a relationship coach from New York. And today we're talking about a couple who had some serious conflicts over money. And I don't know about you, but I find that relationship conflicts tend to intensify around the holidays.
Absolutely. I just want to say welcome from New York, everybody. It's a beautiful winter day here. And definitely, we definitely see this all the time. So money to begin with can be such a charged topic for so many couples. This can really be where they tend to have issues. And around the holidays, with all the pressure to sometimes, really focus on things that involve money, like gifts, hosting, which isn't happening as much this year, but tends to happen normally for the holidays. There's just a lot more expectation and energy around money. So the tension can sort of be in the air around it these days.
Absolutely. Well, such was the case with this couple that we're calling John and Martha. And by the way, we tell these stories, and these are stories that are made up of similar experiences we have in therapy and working with couples. And so if your name's John or Martha, this is not really you. This is not you, but we changed the names, we changed the circumstances, but it's real stuff. And what I find is that the tools, the way we've used tools with couples, Elissa and I are doing a workshop called Safe Conversations Workshop. And that workshop is going to teach the tools that we use in situations like with John and Martha. And that workshop is going to be on January the 30th. That's a Saturday. And if you're in California, it's 9 o'clock in the morning. If you're in New York, it's 12 noon. If you're somewhere in between, we can help you figure out when that is. But we're going to be putting a link on Facebook to just let you know when and how to register for that. And we want to invite you to come and join us for that. Well, John and Martha came to me, and I generally say, hey, what's going on? What's the problem? And what they came right out and said, the problem is John says Martha is a tightwad. And I said, oh, is that true? And Martha said, yeah, well, John is a spendthrift. And so I want to pose the question, who's right? There's one that says, hey, you're a tightwad, you don't want to spend money. The other one says you spend too much money and inappropriately. Who's right, Elissa?
Well, they're both right in their perspectives, but I think that what we're seeing here is that they're not really connecting and understanding each other. So neither is really right. They're really just putting out their intense opinions about this and how they feel.
Right. We get in trouble when we talk about right or wrong, who's right, because what you just pointed out, it's about a perspective. So the answer is neither are right, or both are right, because both have a perspective. And the problem is, if you continue to criticize each other, you'll find that, that's the fight that you have. I'm right, you're wrong. And but if you stop the criticism and you use a dialogue skill that we're talking about to look at the deep desire that each partner has, then you'll find you're both right.
Exactly. Yes, and this is what we're going to be teaching in the workshop. So, we're going to be going through what we call the couples dialogue, which really allows you to have these conversations, which can be really charged. Talking about money for so many people is a very charged topic. It could be one of the most triggering, intense conversations that many couples actually have.
Oh, it really is. It really is. And so as we look at each side in this situation, we see Martha's desire. If you were to talk to her in a moment when she's really in touch with what's going on, she would say, I just want to bring wise caution to the marriage. I want to base, our marriage on the principle of living within our means. And when she said that, I thought of the Charles Dickens' David Copperfield, where there was this character called Mr. McAlver, who he was always in trouble, just barely escaping debtor's prison. And he came to the conclusion, if I make 20 pounds a year and I spend 19 and a little, the result is happiness. But when if I make 20 pounds a year and I spend 20 pounds and a little bit more, the result is misery. In other words, and so he came up with this great statement: to continue to spend more than you earn, you'll find yourself in serious trouble. And so Martha was, who can argue with that? Martha just wanted to live within her means. So what was the problem? And here was what happened. Martha's expression of her desire was not motivated by love, but it was motivated by fear. And whenever we do something that's motivated by fear, we bring negativity into the relationship. And so the negativity produced by Martha's fear and criticism of her husband corrupted the space between them. And whenever that space gets corrupted and negative, it'll always render you helpless in resolving such a conflict. Now, as we got into the dialogue, using the Safe Conversations dialogue helped Martha uncover memories of growing up. Memories of growing up with a father who was continually in debt. There was a point in time where he took a loan, a second mortgage out on their home to make ends meet. Mm-hmm. And yet his habits didn't change. And so they ended up losing their home. Well, Martha grew up in this environment where her mother was afraid and there was an insecurity there. And so as John mirrored her and heard that story, as he validated that story, and then as he empathized with Martha using the Safe Conversations dialogue, she began to relax and her fear began to melt away. Mm-hmm. And as the negativity dissolved, John began to open his heart to what Martha was really needing, what she was really saying.
Right.
And so that happened. Now, let me quickly tell you what happened on John's part, because we're making it sound like it's all Martha's fault, right? She's the tightwad. No, of course, in any relationship, there are always two people who contribute to the problem. And we could say to John, nobody can, spend more than they make and be successful, right? But what was the issue with John? John's desire was to simply feel fully alive. But here was the problem. His expression of that desire was not motivated by love, but it was motivated by fear. John saw Martha sort of as a Scrooge who would make their lives miserable. He was afraid that his marriage would take him back to the prison of his own childhood. And as he talked about his childhood, guess what kind of home he grew up in? His parents were so concerned about money, they rarely spent any of it. And so fun was not an option when John was growing up. And so he did not want that to be repeated in his marriage. So he was very reactive about that. Well, as Martha used the Safe Conversations dialogue, her understanding of this need began to deepen. And she realized that what John wanted was for them both to live fully alive and not be needlessly limited. So that was a real wonderful way to use the dialogue. And Elissa, have you seen that kind of thing happen as well?
Definitely. I mean, and you can see even in this case between this, but this couple who's that when they heard these stories and they were able to say it. So in the Safe Conversations workshop, we teach a way, we didn't get to say this yet, but what happens is that it's a 3-step process. And there's something called, so it slows down the conversation. And so when they're having this intense conversation, they're talking really, really listening to each other. They're guided to really listen with curiosity and appreciation and have that, safety in the space between, as you said earlier. So when the couple gets to have this, even talking about money, you could see that when you slow the conversation down, get it to be safer, you could get to a place where you're getting out of that top level and talking about what's really going on underneath and the fears that you described underneath. So for Martha, it was the fear of losing everything, so we have to hold on. We're going to lose everything. We're not going to have a house. There's this kind of deep fear under that. And for, what was his name? John? For John, the fear is, we're just not going to have any fun. Everything's going to be so tight, so controlled. We can't do anything. I can't make my own decisions. Mm-hmm. So you can see when you allow for that space, that safety, to slow it down, go underneath the story, that's when people can be like, oh, now I get you. You don't look like somebody that's trying to like kill me or take away all my rights or put us on the street. You're just my partner that I loved and married. And, I could see you in a much more compassionate way. And then when they validate each other and could really get like, that makes sense to me. That makes sense that you would feel that way. How can I make you feel safer? You can see how this kind of thing allows for something like that. So
That,
this is what we teach in the workshop, which can be used talking about money or many other kinds of topics.
right. Well, that's really well said, just in terms of how, the bottom line is that everything that we do or everything we say is motivated either by love or by fear. And if
Mhm.
we are triggered in our fear, we'll stay in conflict. And so what you're saying, Elissa, is that the couples dialogue and the skills that we're going to be teaching in our workshop will help you let love dissolve your fear, help you come to a place where it's safe and you can reconnect with each other. And as a result, get the best of what you both bring to the table in your marriage.
Exactly.
Well, we want to invite you to join us, and we're going to sign off at this point. But we're going to be coming back every Wednesday at this time, and we're going to be talking about a story, a couple, and we'd welcome your questions. And we're going to put a link in the Facebook comment sections where you can find out more about our workshop coming up in January. And that's a great gift you could give each other for Christmas during the holiday season. And let me encourage you to do that. So thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you.